To another episode of Groovi Tuesday. My name's Paul Church from Clarity Stamp here in the UK. Hope everyone's doing well today. Can't believe Tuesday's come around so quickly yet again. I'll just wait for a few people just so I can see there's some viewers coming in. So once I start seeing some chat coming up on the side, then I know we're good to go. Hopefully the sound is all nice and clear. The lovely Jilly is in the room with you today. Good morning, Helen. First one in the room. So hope everybody's well today. Another episode of Groovi Tuesday. So there we go. Good morning, Doreen. Thank you. Another Groovi Tuesday, and what a lovely day it is. Good morning, Josie. Good morning. Hopefully you can hear me. Thank you all very much for your very kind wishes for my birthday today. What a lovely day it is to be. Thank you, Jilly. Jilly said the sound is good. Super duper. So, this it's so special today. Not only with it being Groovi Tuesday, but I get to spend an hour with so many lovely, friendly faces and people. So I hope everybody's well. So there we go. Jilly's in the room. Josie's in the room. Jane Telford's in the room. So you've got lots of experts in the room. So if you've got any questions, then feel free to ask away. I'm sure the ladies will answer if I don't pick up on it. And it seems like a long time ago, doesn't it, since we met? Well, for me it does anyway, since we met last week. We had some fantastic TV shows on Create and Craft last week. So the launch of Linda Williams' Christmas Treasures, that really did go mad. It really, really did. And then Barb had a sort of 2 hours on Friday with those beautiful burst stencils. I wonder whether she'd left any here. They were just crazy, and the little wee cats and dogs and the wee folk and the wee Christmas. It was just a crazy 2 days. And so we're sort of making and packing and trying to get everything out the door, because obviously a week on Friday, Barb's going to do a craft along in the evening at 7 p.m. on Friday the 12th of August. So if you manage to grab those plates, which will be winging their way to you very shortly, then that'll be a really sort of fun evening. Looking forward to that. But we've got lots going in between now and then to keep you occupied. We've got Groovi Tuesday today, and then on Thursday we're back in the Shack with Barb. On Sunday, Barb's got her first Sunday of the month, so 3 till 5 on Create and Craft. Some really nice new bijou stamps. Not going to give anything away. I'll let Barb do that on Thursday. So again, it's lovely to have your company again today, especially today. It's just nice to spend, say, an hour with so many friendly. Karen's on Nuftorch Station on the train to London Bridge. Ooh, hope you're off somewhere nice. So what have we been doing the past few weeks, apart from getting groovy? Well, we've been looking at the back issue, haven't we, designed by Linda Williams. And we've been working through it in different sort of stages. And these are sort of a great little sort of educational sort of tasters. If you're not in the club, then, so to speak, then Gilly will pop a link up for you. We do 4 different clubs. We do a Groovi, we do a stamp, a stencil, and a die. And I know many of you in the room are already members of the craft club, maybe 1, 2, 3, or 4. But each month you get this fantastic double-sided project sheet for each of the 4 different products. You also get the product itself. So obviously, what's the point of having a product club without the product? And this is the one we've been looking at. So this was back issue 65, designed by the lovely Linda Williams. And during the first part of sort of going back, we looked at, because this is where the whole concept of the easy layout plate started from. Linda created this fantastic piece of artwork, and when Barb saw it and read the instructions on how it would be created, she said, she put her heads together with Linda and said, wouldn't it be great if we had a plate that instantly gave you a layout? And that's where the easy layout plates all started, from one fantastic project from Linda Williams. And what we did was, over the past few weeks, we've been looking and we broke it down and recreated it. So this was Linda's masterpiece, and then this was my take on it. So they look much the same. I mean, obviously Linda spent a lot more time on it than I did, but you can see we just changed the sentiment in there, but the overall layout is very much the same as what Linda designed for the craft club. Then for the second project, we've been working towards, let's have a look. So the second project is this piece here. So this is just beautiful. I really love the monochromatic look. So like they're just using different shades of blue or using different shades of green, just keeping it really sort of nice and simple, but oh so effective. And this one just has some white work on the design with a little bit of blue to tie in with the outside frame. Now Linda's guided us through all the various different stages. And for that, what she did to create the outside frame, she used one of Josie's sampler plates, where you get sort of 9 different designs on each plate. But what we've been looking at is another one of Josie's designs. So this is the embossed pattern frames. And you've got 1, 2, 3 instant pieces of framework, but you can extend them, you can do borders, you can do ribbons with them. And we looked at this one here because it was the perfect size for our piece of artwork. Okay, so we follow the overall instructions from Linda, but then I've just adapted it just to sort of show different things that you may already have in your collection. So what we did, or what I did, I don't know if everybody at home did, this was the piece that we created. Okay, so when we have a look at it compared to Linda's piece, so it is smaller, okay, but we've taken the design straight from the plate. Okay, and if I lay that over the top, you can see it's that frame exactly. Okay, and then last week we did a little bit of picot cutting just to create apertures within the design. Okay, and now what we're going to do, we're going to take our piece of artwork that we've already traced out. We did that probably about 3 weeks ago. That was just sort of like a warm-up exercise. And so now we can start to work on this. Okay, now when I traced out my design, I kept it very simple and just used the number 1 Groovi tool, which gave me a crisp line all the way round. Okay, when Linda was doing her piece, see how, I mean, Barb was showcasing this. Let me zoom in a little bit on this so you can see. Barb was showcasing this on Thursday afternoon stroke evening on the pieces of artwork that Linda created for the Christmas treasures. And what you'll notice, I wonder if I can come in even closer without it going all foggy. Okay, so what you'll notice, you can see, obviously you've got real definition with the sentiment, okay? And you've also got the sentiment of the shoreline, the horizon in the background. But when you look at the lighthouse, there's no bright white lines, okay? If I take my finger and go over it, there's no raised line art at all, okay? So this is really sort of it's a crossover, I suppose, in a way from traditional parching and groovy parching. You're using the groovy plate, but what you're doing is you're not creating a raised embossed line. So it gives it, I don't know whether it comes across on camera, but you've got that beautiful sort of, it looks as if it is circular, 3D. Now on my piece that I traced out, let me just bring it in comparison, you can see, you can definitely see I've got the rigid white lines. Okay, let's swap it over and go this way. There we go. So although we have the same design, okay, you've got a completely different look and feel to it. The same as on the rocks on the cliff face. Linda's are very soft and very subtle. Okay, so depending on what level you're at with the parching, I think what we'll do, we'll have a look at the lighthouse and we'll sort of isolate that we can sort of work on. Okay, so I'm just going to have a look at the destructions from Linda. Okay, and if I bring this in, I'll try and bring it in slowly so you can see, there we go, you've got the full pictorial and written instructions from what Linda's done. Now Linda's done her piece on light blue parchment, so it automatically gives that beautiful blue background. But to practice, we're just going to go on clear parchment. So what we're going to need for the session this morning, let's get a list of bits and pieces. Let me zoom back out now. Okay, there we go. Okay, so what we're going to need is, we're going to need our plate mate from the starter kit. Definitely going to need some groovy tabs. We're going to need our adapter plate, because all the little plates that come in the club are little A6 square baby plates. So we're going to need our plate, our tumble dry sheet, and I'm going to say we're going to go with the number 1, 2, 3, and 4 groovy tools. We need a piece of parchment. I mean, if you've got a scrap of parchment, that's fine, because this is going to be sort of like a warm-up just to show the various different configurations on what we can do, sort of comparisons between them. And then maybe for homework, or what you may want to do it afterwards, because obviously you can watch these back again and again, you can have a play and decide exactly which option you want to go for. Okay, so I think that's all we're going to need for this bit. Yeah, okay, so plate mate, groovy inset. I mean, if you've got the plate mate that comes in the Craft Club, then you get a little baby plate mate that these plates fit into. Parchment, tools, tumble dry sheet, groovy guard, and also groovy guard. I'm saying groovy guard. Here we go. Groovy guard, tumble dry sheet. Yeah, and then I think we're good to go on that. So I will let you gather all your bits and pieces. Who's going to craft along today? Who's going to give it a go and see what you come up with? Because it is very clever the way in which the Groovi system works. Because all of the plates are laser etched to a specific depth and width, it means that you can get different effects depending on the size of the ball tool. So let me just roll in. I've got the fan going on underneath the table because it's quite warm. It's quite muggy and overcast down here today. Yesterday it was really warm and sunny. So what's the weather like with you today? We've got sunshine, we've got rain. I heard on the radio, I think from the Midlands upwards, I think it's meant to be rainy. We were meant to get rain at the weekend, but never happened. So I don't tend to look at the weather really. Just get up, get dressed. Not as if I'm walking the streets, is it? So, okay. Are we all good to go? I reckon we are. Okay. So Nahid is working on a different piece. What are you working on then? Do you want to share? I know the design team are working on special bits and pieces as well. Marion doesn't have the plate, but happy to work. Well, Marion, if you don't have this particular plate, the technique we're going to have a look at today, you can do with any other plates that you've got. Pat says it's overcast in Cornwall. Jane says it's been chucking it down in Manchester. Jill's just doing the border. Excellent. So Glynis has got showers and overcast. I'm guessing you mean outside, Glynis. You're not in the shower at the moment. Right, okay. Let's get in the groove and let's chill out for an hour, shall we? Okay, so Groovi tabs. What I'm going to do, if you'll notice, see, look, there's a little bit of movement. Okay. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to use a Groovi tab to cover all three plates, and then that's going to hold that. You will get sometimes a little bit of slight movement because of the way in which they're laser cut. Okay, I'm going to take my piece of parchment and I'm going to wipe parchment, okay, with my tumble dry sheet. Then what we're going to do, I'm going to start this side, and all I'm going to look at is the lighthouse. Okay, that's all we're going to concentrate, and we're going to look at the different tools to get different effects. Okay, so let's line up our piece of parchment just so that, I know it sounds really weird, so that they all appear in a straight line. Okay, so I've got my parchment in place. Groovi tab to hold it there. I've got another one lurking over here. So we're going to position that just there. Wiped it with the tumble dry sheet. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to zoom in now. So let me try and bring this central. And we will zoom in very slowly. There we go. I'll move it down. Whee, there we go. Thank you all so very much for the lovely birthday wishes. It's very much appreciated. It really is. And I feel special that I'm sharing today with you all as well. Okay, so let's have a look at number one, which is what I tend to do all the time. Okay, so what I tend to do using the number one Groovi tool, it's just a stylus. There's no ball on the end at all. Okay, so all we're going to do, I'm going to put my glasses on actually. See, old age just kicked in. Normally I just use the glasses when I'm picot cutting, but there we go. That's better. So Groovi guard to isolate the area. And all I'm going to do, I'm going to take the number one tool and I'm just going to put part of the cliff in place just to give it some grounding. And I'm going to take the whole design and I'm going to trace it out just with the number one tool. Okay. The attention to detail that Linda puts in her designs is amazing. I mean, when you get the Christmas treasures home, it's just, they are just full of beautiful, intricate designs. So we're just going to trace it out exactly how it comes. See, and it's great because if you jump out of the groove, nothing's going to happen. Okay. Put the lines in. So that is traced out with the number one tool. Okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to slide our parchment along. And I'm going to keep it in line with the edge of the plate. We'll put a little bit of space in between, just so that we can see the difference. Okay. Now this time, I'm going to go with the number two tool. Okay. So I'm going to repeat the process, do exactly the same. Now, because the number 2 tool has a ball on the end, it doesn't push into the groove as much. Now, if I bring this away, you can hopefully see, I mean, when we turn this over, it'll be more obvious. Okay. So using the number 2, now I'm putting the same sort of pressure that I apply when I'm tracing out with the number 1 tool. Now, because this has a little ball on the end, if I go too fast, I'll jump out of the groove more. Okay. But I'm not worried about that because that's the beauty of the Groovi system. So we're going to repeat the process with the number 2 tool. Okay. Now, back in the day, I remember when we first started with the Groovi system, what we used to say was that if you trace out with the number 2 tool first, then you went back in with the number 1 tool. What the number 2 tool does, it gently breaks the fibers. Okay, and then the number 1 tool just enhances the design. But just for this, we're just going to stick with the number 2 tool. Okay. Now at this point in time, we really can't sort of see much difference between the number 1 because again, we're still looking on the back. So now let's slide it along again. Okay, so that's going to go about there. And we're just going to hold our parchment in place with our Groovi tabs. Now this time, I'm going to go with the number 3 tool. Okay, and if I take the number 2 tool, you can see the difference in the size of the ball on the end. Okay, so because this is a larger ball, it's not going to go into the groove as much. So therefore, it's not going to stretch the parchment, and we're then going to get a softer image. And you will jump out more. Okay, so we're going to go along and we're tracing out.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Paul. Happy birthday to you. For he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow. And so say all of us.
Thank you, thank you. It's got warm in here all of a sudden.
I'm all having a good time, people. Jazz, leave that all like, as soon as you're here. Think, oh, it's a racing little girl. Yeah. This is Jazz. Hi, everyone. This is Jilly. This is me. And this is the birthday boy. Yay. And now
Thank you.
Does it say how old are you? No. Have you said how old you are?
No.
Did they know it was your birthday?
Yeah, they've all been saying happy birthday. I'm only 5 times 10.
Have a good day.
Thank you. Oh, I can eat this out. I'm not gonna. We're not doing any more parching. No, I'm gonna eat the cake now. Oh, look at this. Thank you very much. Oh, look at that. Wow. Oh, wow, wow, wow. Oh gosh, I'm like, oh, present as well. I'm going to open that afterwards. Maybe I'll open it towards the end so we can have a look. We've got a lovely card as well. Oh dear. Bus pass time. Nearly, Lorraine. A few more years. Ooh. Okay, I've got chocolate on my parchment now. Drop of coffee. Wow. What a fantastic bunch of people I work with. It really is. Thank you all so much. Thank you. That's really thrown me now. Oh dear. But that cake is lovely. I shall share the cake with you virtually. Okay. It's one of those low fats ones. If I share it with you, then you can just imagine the taste, can't you? So, gosh, golly gosh. That's really, yes. Right, okay. Where were we? Before we were lovely interrupted. Okay. So now we're going to go with the number 3 tool. Okay. I don't know where I am now. I've gone all over the place now. Yes, the big 50. So it's just a number. That's what I keep telling myself. That's all it is. Okay. So see now, because I'm using the number 3 tool, I can see roughly where I've been. And but this is where the beauty of the Groovi system comes into play, because if I do miss a bit, because I get distracted by birthday singers and birthday cake, then I can just lift the parchment up. Let's have a look. I can lift it up and see where I've missed. Okay, perfect positioning. Okay, so now we're going to go along and we're doing the top of the lighthouse. And we're just going to follow the design. But can you see how I'm sort of jumping out more? But as I say, I'm not worried. And I'm using the same type of pressure that I used with the number 1 tool, the number 2 tool. But because it's got a larger ball on the end, it can't get into the groove so much. Okay. So what that means is that I'm instantly, I know I'm going to get a softer line. Okay. So that's with the number 3 tool. So should we go to the extreme and now have a look at the number 4 tool? I mean, you can see, can't you? I mean, let me just turn this over so you can see from the front. Number 1, number 2, number 3. So let's have a look and see what the number 4 will do. Okay. Gosh. I'm going to give that another little wipe. Okay. Number 4 tool. So this is the biggest of the tools that come in with the Groovi starter kit. And now I know that I need to go slow, because I'm definitely going to jump out of the groove, because there's nowhere really for this ball to go to. Okay. It's definitely got a lot warmer in here. Oh dear. What a fantastic clarity family. It really is. It's quite, yeah, it's quite something. So number 4 tool. Now what you'll find, if you're going to do this with some of the designs that are a lot more detailed, then it's possible that you may not get into the groove. Okay. But you can always, when you look at the pieces of artwork that Francis Knott creates, and Linda does as well with that traditional painting look, it's very similar to the frosted floral overlays that Linda and Lynn Jackson came up with that technique. That basically you're taking sort of like that traditional pattern, and rather than tracing out the outline, you're colouring in on a clear piece of parchment. Okay. So let's have a look at this now. So let's have a look at the front. Now, depending on your eyesight, and I mean, this is where the light panel really comes into play now. So let's move these bits out of the way. Okay. So we can definitely see the difference by using the 4 different tools. So this was using the number 1 tool. This was using the number 2 tool. This was using the number 3 tool. And then this one was using the number 4 tool. Okay. So this is the Groovi tools. So when you look at the piece of artwork that Linda's created, let me put that pen down. I don't want to, I'll go back to my stylus. You can see here there's no obvious edge to the design or to the stripes on the lighthouse. Now there's a very, very faint line just down this edge. Okay. So depending on what effect you want to get, I mean, it's the same with the little boat. You can see the center, I'm sure there's a technical term for that. You can see you've got that, the point or the front of the little boat is prominent, but then over here, it's a lot softer. And then between the different sections, there's no obvious line there. Okay. So sometimes you may want to look at a design and say, okay, what type of effect do I want to get? Do I want to just go for it and just do everything in the number 1? Because you're not necessarily at that stage where you want to do that sort of the shading and the colouring at that level. And I know in Groovi, not Groovi Tuesday, in the craft along with Barb a week on Friday, that's one of the things Barb's going to look at on that beautiful piece of artwork that Linda created with the red, it was a little, the sleigh and the green, that tiny little piece on that card. And it's all about getting sort of like for it to look as if it's real. Okay. So I know Barb will be covering that and the different colouring techniques in the craft along on the 12th of August. Okay. Excuse me. Oh dear. Right. Okay. So depending on what we want to do now to create the effect that Linda's created, we can decide which one we want to go for. So let's have a look at each of them in turn and decide which one is going to work better for us. Okay. So what I'm going to do now, you've got choices. Let me zoom out a little bit just so we can see the bigger picture. I've just seen some chocolate. Hang on. A little bit of Colin the caterpillar. Other caterpillars are available. Fell off and it was on the mat. I didn't want to get it on my parchment. So I haven't been sneakily eating him. He's still in one piece. Right, so I've got choices now. I've got my black mat that comes in the starter kit, which is hard on one side and soft on the other. Okay. Or I've got my pink mat. Whee. So we can decide, some of you may already have, thank you, Christine, it's called the bow of the boat. Let's try saying that. Bow of the boat, bow of the boat. Okay, so let's have a look with the black mat. Now I know instantly that I'm heavy-handed, just from experience, because I'm impatient. So if we take a little bit of cello bag, like the plates come into, what this does, it acts as a barrier or a resist, so that when you're applying pressure, that if you do go put a little bit too much on, then you're unlikely to go through the parchment. Okay, so let's start with this. And where's my little piece of artwork disappeared to? I reckon Colin the caterpillar's eaten it. Where's it got? I know. I wonder. Ta-da! Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go with Groovi tabs everywhere. Linda's best friend when it comes to doing white work, the number 6 ball tool. And you may look at that and you think, wow, that's way too big. But it will work. Okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to zoom back in. Let me see, I'm going to go this way, so that we can really sort of focus. And we're going to do one at a time. Okay. Okay. Need to get some oil on the wheels on this chair. Now, you can either go away from yourself when you're doing white work, so starting here and push into the tip of your finger, or you can come towards you. It's whatever you feel more comfortable with. Now, one of the top tips I picked up from Linda many moons ago was that, let me just take another piece of parchment. I've got my little scrap piece here. Okay, and I just want to explain something. If you're new to sort of using a larger ball tool, so let me just take a line. That's all I need. So let me just trace out a line with the number 1 tool. Okay, so we've got that. Now, when you look at the size of the ball tool, you automatically think, let me see if I can come in on this angle. So there's the line. I'm going to go in, I'm going to start here and I'm going to go this way. There we go. I'm going to go in that direction. Okay. Now, if I take the ball tool and I think I'm at the edge of that ball tool, when I then put the pressure on, I'm going in really hard now just to make a point. Because I thought about the edge of the ball tool, because that's where I think it should be, what happens is you then get a gap between the line and where the pressure applies. Okay. So what Linda says you do is you take in a way, you're looking at the middle of the ball, and then when you put the pressure on and you strike out, there's no gap between the line and where your white work is. Okay, so it's all about just remembering that the larger the ball tool, don't think you've got to go to the edge of the ball tool to start your white work, because you will get a gap in between the line and where the white work starts. Okay, so you can use the 6mm ball tool. So if I just go there again, and I'm just going to show, and I'm going on really heavy. You wouldn't do this for your first layer. This is, when I turn this over, this is really bubbly and rigid, and that's not what we want. We want to go on very, very gently. Okay, you can also use the 4mm ball tool, and it's the same principle. You put the middle of the ball on the line and then strike out. Okay, now you're going with the Groovi tools. Obviously it's not such a larger ball, but it's still that same principle of starting on the line and striking out. Okay, if I take the edge of the ball, can you see I've still got that gap? So it doesn't matter what size ball tool you've got, just remember, if you want to get that sort of, that real sort of, I'm not going to say professional, the proper look to it, then it's just remembering to put the middle of the ball, let's go back to the 6, the middle of the ball to the middle of the line. Okay. So we're going to start there and we're going to push out. And I'm going really heavy just so you can see the thing. Now, ideally, what we want to do is we just want to gently stroke the parchment. Okay. And it doesn't look as if, I mean, you can see it there because we're coming really close. But you don't want to go on too heavy. In a way, you're just sort of gently rubbing the ball backwards and forwards over the parchment, not backwards and just in one sort of direction. And don't forget, it's remembering that when you, that's coming on this camera, when you, it's like an aeroplane lifting off. So you say this line in my finger here is the line of the parchment. Then what we do is we go along, and as we get towards the end, we take off. Okay. So you're on the line, and then the aeroplane is going down the runway and it's taking off. And then what that means that you won't get, so if I just keep going there, I'm going to get a rigid line, which I don't really want. I want a more softer, gradual look to it. Okay, so let's take our first lighthouse and let's go with the number 6 ball tool. So let's come back picking on the overhead. Now it's the same as before, so we're going to start on that line, but also I need to be starting on this line as well. So this is really sort of, this is a double bubble really. So we're just going to gently apply one level of whiteness. He says one and then he goes back down and does the second one. Okay, so we're going to do this on this one. Okay, I'm now going to do the same on this one. And I'm just moving the ball tool very, very gradually. Okay. So now we're going to move down to the number 3 tool. We're just going to put a very gentle undercoat on there. Okay. And then finally, okay. See, for me, this is where the light panel would really come into play. Because if I'm going to do this one, which I can just about see, okay, if I use the white superfoam or the white perforating mat on the light panel, then I would also use the cello bag underneath as well. And I would probably use the 4mm perforating foam because it's got less give to it. You can use the pink mat on the light panel as well. Okay, so now I'm reliant on the very faint lines. So when I turn this over now, you can definitely see the difference between, obviously we've got those really rigid lines around the outside, and the white, the shading white doesn't really stand out. Then we come down to the number 2 tool and the shading stands out that little bit more. Okay, coming on to number 3, even more so, and then number 4, I went over the line there because I couldn't see it properly, but I'm not worried about that. Excuse me. So now we can sort of see. So in relation to sort of how long would you sort of leave it between layers, it's one of those things. I mean, Linda and Glynis and Josie and Jane, and Tina, they would always say, the longer you leave it between the layers, the whiter it will become. Now, depending on the area, if you're doing tiny little dots, for example, so like you're doing little dots of snow falling down, they're quite tiny and quite forgiving. So you could probably do one session and then go back and do it again. Okay, so But larger areas, the longer you leave it, the parchment sort of shrinks back. You can't see it. I mean, you're not sort of stretching it. Oh, look, it's flexible. But it just relaxes, because what you're doing, in a way, another way of describing it, you're sort of stressing the parchment by stroking it, and then by leaving it, it de-stresses and sort of bounces back. Okay. So because this is just our practice piece, let's go back in and have a look at the levels now. So what way did I go? Did I go that way? Yeah, I did, didn't I? Okay. So now I'm going to go back in and I'm going to put a little bit more pressure on. So I've gone once and I'm going to go again. Okay. So it's definitely becoming whiter, but I can also feel that it's stretching more. So we're going to do the same on this one. Okay, 1, 2. It's like when Barb's squirting the her spritz bottle. She goes 1, 2, 3, and then 4. What's that Glynis saying? Not what's that Glynis. What Glynis is saying, I've put the white Pico foam into a plastic file pocket and keep that permanently. Wow, that's a really good idea, Glynis. I didn't think of that. You mean like the Polly Pockets or a cello bag? That's really good idea. Yeah, I like that. I suppose it makes sense, doesn't it? Rather than just having a piece of the cello bag, if you put it in a pocket, then yeah, brilliant idea. Hope everyone picked up on that. If they didn't, I've just told you, this is Glynis's top tip. If you want to do your white work and your shading on the light panel, because the lines are so faint, like this is, then the 4mm foam, white foam, translucent foam that comes with the A4 light panel, put it into a Polly Pocket or a cello bag, and then perfect. Brilliant idea. Thank you, Glynis. Okay. Yeah, it's a really good idea. I like that. Okay, so now we're going to do the number 3, and we're still working with the number 6 ball tool. Okay. That is brilliant. Ooh, okay. Right, now I am struggling to see where that line is. So let's see what happens. This could be a lighthouse with bits falling off of it. But it's just to show the difference between tracing out with the different size ball tools. I suppose another way is that you could always use a white pencil, but then you've got to rub it all out, haven't you? So swings and roundabouts. So let's have a look now. So we can see which one looks more natural. That one definitely looks a bit dodge, okay, for me. So I wouldn't necessarily go for the number 4 unless I'm using the light panel. I'm most happiest with this one, the number 3. Okay. So number 2 doesn't look too bad, but it's definitely going to take a lot more work to break down the lines of the design. And this one's going to take a lot of work. Okay, but maybe that's the effect you want. Maybe you want those to be more prominent. It's all about having the different choices. So let's turn over again. Now this time I'm going to go with the 4.5. Okay, so it's the same principle as before. And I would say you probably want to leave it, if you're doing the whole lighthouse, I'd say you start at the bottom on 1, 2, 3. Let that rest for probably about half hour or so, or longer. Then go back in again. So I've done 2 layers with the 6mm, and now I'm on the 4.5. Okay. And it's that same principle. You're still starting with the middle of the ball tool on the line. Now we're going to move to the next one. And I can definitely see it changing. Yeah. So I'm doing 2 layers. There we go. So Maggie's saying you could also put the black mat into a cello bag too. Yeah, you could indeed. So now we're on to the number 3. And remember to keep starting in the middle of the ball. There we go. And then finally, let's see if I can do this one. There we go. Maybe I can correct the part that's falling out. Yeah. Yeah, he says. I like that. I'm becoming more onto 4 now. I suppose because we're building up the levels of whiteness, the little imperfection of the little bit sticking out isn't shown. I've slightly corrected it. So yeah, but look, you can see already, can't you? You can definitely see the difference. And this has all got the same level. I'm using the same pressure. I'm using the same tool on all of them. But I think this one possibly is still my winner. Okay. So that was 1 with the number 4. So let's do another one. So we're starting again in the middle. That's once. And then twice. Okay. Move down. Once. And just say, if you want to get this effect, don't necessarily go straight onto your piece of artwork that you've traced out. Have a play on a scrap, just like I am. Maybe make a little note of what tools you've used, so that you can refer back to it. And then I'm going to go on this one. And then finally on this one. One more layer. There we go. So we can see now how we're starting to sort of break down, but the outer lines are definitely still very prominent. Over here, they're less prominent, and over here, you can barely see where the lines are. So this is where the magic of, this is what Linda has done to get that effect. Okay. So you can see there's no obvious lines between them. So let's turn over and let's go to our number 4 tool. And you can still do this, even if you've only got the number 4 Groovi tool, you can still do this, but you just need to be a little bit more careful, okay? Because it's like anything. If I take, let me take this scrap piece, okay? If I'm doing white work with a 6mm ball tool, it covers a larger surface area, okay? If I do white work with the number 4, although I've got a whiter line, I'm more likely, there we go, I've just gone through it, even with the cello bag underneath. If I do white work with the number 3 tool, went through it a lot quicker. And if I do white work with the number 2 tool, there we go, gone through, it's cracked. And I've used the same pressure on all 4 of those, but those have cracked because it's a smaller surface area. So if you are going to do that, then it's just very, very gentle and less pressure. And you can still get a really nice effect just with the tools that come in the starter kit. So let's go back to our piece now. And how are we doing for time? Wow, is that really the time? 5 to 11 already. Wow. Okay, let's just do one more layer of the number with the 4 Groovi tool, just to see if we can try and break down the rigid lines. Okay, on the number 1. So we're going to go along. And we just carry on. See, now this, I think the number 3 is going to be my winner for today. And then this one, let's see what we get with this now. I don't know, I reckon. What do you think? See, I'm still liking number 3. Okay, but it does reply. It does reply. It does rely even on what effect you want to get, and in a way, how good your eyesight is. Okay, now, say if I'm going with the number 4, I would definitely do it on the light panel because it just makes it so much more easier. I'd probably use the light panel for the number 3 as well, to be honest, because it just, why struggle? I mean, glasses, they do a certain amount, but if I'm taking my time and I want to get it right, then for me, the light panel would definitely help. Absolutely help. I mean, I use the light panel when I'm just tracing out a design in normal mode. So why wouldn't I? And I think that top tip from Glynis, that is brilliant. And I know now everyone's going to be looking now for a bag to put their white translucent foam into, because I think that is a fantastic tip. So have a play. Maybe you've been joining me and doing it at the same time. Take the lighthouse or take any image, a piece of scrap parchment or a piece of parchment, trace it out with the 4 different sizes of the ball tools that come in the starter kit. Okay. And then try and see right underneath what tool you've used, and then you'll know which one you prefer. And as I say, depending on the design, if they're a little bit, I mean, look at this one here, the sort of the railings on this one, you can hardly see them, but it depends whether you want to include it. You can always go back in if you want them to be a little bit more prominent and use the number 2. You haven't got to do the whole design in one size ball tool. You may decide just to do the body of the lighthouse with the number 3, and then other parts in the number 2 or number 3. But if you have this as your guide, then you can say, right, okay, well, if I do the number 2 tool, I'm going to get this. If I do the number 3, I'm going to get this. And if I do the number 4, then this is what I'm going to get. Okay, so maybe the outer part of the lighthouse and the cross lines, the different sections in the number 4, but then the windows and the doors in the number 3. Okay, so have a play, experiment. I mean, for me, that's what it's a piece of parchment and a little bit of time. I mean, we've spent an hour together today, and I'm sure you can achieve the same result in another hour. Thank you very much for joining me on this special day. Thank you for my lovely birthday cake from everyone here at Clarity. We're going to go and devour this now over a cup of coffee. I'm going to open my present in a moment. So don't forget, Barb's back in the Shack with you on Thursday at 10 o'clock. I'm looking forward to see what she's going to come up for that. Then on Sunday, Barb's on TV 3 till 5, first Sunday of the month, with some fantastic bijou designs. And then don't forget to check out the Clarity Matters blog on Sunday. A lot of what I cover here over in Groovi Tuesday, the design team, Glynis, Tina, Linda, Josie, everyone that contributes to those weekly projects covers picot cutting, tracing out, grid work, colouring. It is a full library of knowledge, and it's all free. So thank you all very much again for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you picked up on something. Next week, we'll carry on with this and we'll have a play of a couple more different techniques. So enjoy the rest of the day, whatever you're up to. I know I'm going to. And I will be in the room with you on Thursday with Barb. And yeah, take it easy. And thank you all so very, very much. It's been a glorious hour. It really has. Take care now. Bye-bye.